with the biggest storyline of the entire weekend. Of course, Shedeur Sanders, 10 series, 3 touchdown drives, 14 for 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I don't care how you felt about Shedeur Sanders going into that game, whether you liked him or whether you didn't like him, whether you wanted him to start, whether you didn't want him to start, the kid balled out. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. I just think the first thing I want to say about it is it was fun to be a Cleveland Browns fan for the first time in what felt like a really long time. I was out at our good friends at Lakewood Truck Park for the second half of that game, seeing the Browns get into the end zone around a group of people and just like everyone cheering for the Cleveland Browns. It felt like the first time at least since the playoffs. So, man, it's just cool to see football back in a positive way for Cleveland.
It is, and it was fun probably for the first time since March 2022
when
they made the trade for Deshaun Watson. And I know like there were moments in 2023 when Joe Flacco took the helm and you went on that magic carpet ride to the playoffs, but you kind of knew that the boogeyman was behind the corner and that Deshaun Watson was going to come back at some point. So it was nice that for once it felt like we were able to turn over a new leaf as Browns fans. And, now we're kind of living in we are elbow deep in Shedeur Sanders mania right now.
I said I wasn't going to bring up Baker Mayfield in the first 2 minutes of the show, but like seeing Shedeur Sanders walk into his own song with a speaker that was probably bigger than me, like that was the first time we had like a cool like swag or cockiness to us for the first time in forever. Like Deshaun, you never once felt cool about Deshaun. I mean, for obvious reasons, about Deshaun Watson being your starting quarterback. Like Shedeur walking in, you were like, wow, like I'm proud to be a Cleveland Browns fan.
I mean, you had Nike putting out an advertisement
for a preseason
game. Third quarter of a preseason game for a fourth string quarterback. Like that's the type of motion that we're talking about here. It was fun. It's a fun morning to be a Browns fan.
It was a tremendous outing for the Browns' entirety, and we'll get to that, but we're starting with Shedeur Sanders, of course, as we have to. Getting the start earlier than expected, I thought he checked almost every box that I was looking for. And I'm a big Shedeur guy. I went into the game biased. I did, but I tried to take off my Shedeur-colored glasses and look at him as a rookie, and I thought he, like I said, passed every test. He was comfortable in the pocket. He didn't get... There were a couple times you wanted him to kind of stay in the pocket a little bit. He got a little bit scrambly there. But for the most part, he was comfortable. He was calm. Kevin was scheming people open. He was hitting them in space and delivering the ball. Luke Florio, who we'll talk about, had that tremendous sideline catch. I thought Shedeur Sanders did everything he could have. And we talked about how there might not have been much to gain, a lot to lose in that preseason start. But Shedeur Sanders, understanding the moment, I thought he did tremendous.
And that's what you want to see in the preseason, man. You want to see your expectations be confirmed. And Shedeur passed the eye test. Like we've seen in the last 20-some years here in Cleveland, 40 different starting quarterbacks, and that means 100 different quarterbacks just on the roster roll through those doors in Berea, and some of those guys didn't even pass the first initial eye test. Some of those guys you knew from Jump Street were not going to become the franchise quarterback, and that's not what we're trying to say here today. It was a fun performance from Shedeur. It was good. It was encouraging. That doesn't mean that it was without flaws. He turned his back to the defensive line twice. Yeah. Try doing that against the Baltimore Ravens or against TJ Watt and see what happens to you. There were moments where, you said it, Ryan, he evaded the pocket where he could have stayed in. There were a couple times where he got a little lucky. Could have been interceptions that were drops. But when he's doing everything that they're asking him to do to move up that depth chart and to get more of an opportunity in these practice sessions, it's encouraging. Like Mary Kay Cabot put out that big column explaining to Browns fans why he hasn't had the same opportunity as Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. And to keep things short, right, I'm told that in the meeting rooms, they really like that Dillon Gabriel can recite and repeat their language and their lingo the way that they want it to sound. Whereas Shedeur Sanders played in a little bit more of a QB-friendly offense at Colorado with his dad. Everything was tailored to him during his time with the Buffaloes, so he doesn't have that NFL intellect that Dillon Gabriel has because he played with 100 different college football teams and played 6 seasons, did Dillon Gabriel. But I think you saw on Friday that he was able to go through game speed in all process of the pre-snap. He was able to, relay plays to the line of scrimmage in the huddle, identified the defense, slid protections, directing motions, all of the things that it takes to run Kevin Stefanski's offense. He showed that he was able to do. I'm here to say that he deserves more of an opportunity beginning at practice today, and we shall see what happens.
I think basing stuff off the whiteboard is the dumbest thing of all time, Nick. Like Jensen talked about the laptop gang a little bit with Kyle Manzardo getting on the field I saw last week, but man, it's just one of those things where like, how many people do you know that are just of the dumbest that you've ever met in your whole entire life, but they get a 3.8 in school because they're good at memorizing things? Like, I don't think you can take memorization and put that, like, yeah, it's nice if you can learn a playbook, but at a certain point, you got to go out there and do it. But switching back to Shedeur and Nick, I think you made a great point about him turning his back to the defense. I will say that was a banner moment for anyone who's ever had 3 or 4 garage beers and logged on to college football, because that is so fun. You get to run backwards. Like that is what football is about to its core. So that was fun. But like, dude, overall too, when you're playing against the first team defense and you have a bunch of equipment managers for the first half, like, yeah, he got off to a slow start, but what'd you expect with that kind of a defense he was facing, even if it is the Carolina Panthers? Like, I was proud of the kid. I thought he was awesome.
There's certain things that you'll be able to teach a quarterback up, like Shedeur the happy feet. That's one thing, getting him comfortable. But I thought the pocket presence overall was pretty solid. There were 2 plays that I identified that I was like, Shedeur, like, that's not a rookie. It was 3rd and 9, back of their own end zone, and you had 2 rushers about to collapse it on Shedeur. He hung in the pocket, delivered a throw right over the middle to convert the first down. I believe that led to a touchdown. That's huge. Second play was in the red zone. A free rusher got right through the A-gap. Shedeur took one slide right. Running back did a tremendous job of picking up the free rusher, and he delivered the touchdown. Like, to me, that is a play where I don't expect a rookie to immediately come into the game's first live action against ones and read that and make that kind of play. I thought that was tremendous.
Was that the Mitchell kid that's like swung over and got him on the block?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I know the player you're talking about. Yeah.
The other piece of preseason football, right, that people do is it allows the haters of players that perform well to say, oh, well, it was just a preseason game. And we saw Dorian Thompson-Robinson be a 5th-round quarterback, ball out in his NFL debut. But Ryan, what you just hit on there, like, there were throws during that game that DTR never made, even when he played well. You know, namely that first touchdown pass where he was rolling to the left. That was triple coverage, and he put the ball in the one location that it had to be for the receiver to catch it. Like, those are Sunday throws, you know, so the haters were able to get their licks in a little bit because DTR looked good in his first preseason game too. But yeah, there were a lot of reasons to be encouraged, and that's why pretty much anybody that's seen practice with their own 2 eyes have told you that Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco are probably the 2 best QBs out there, and that's maintained consistent through the first real live game action.